Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sellik the Thunder podcast. I'm your host, Rightful Simons, joined today by Ryan McGinley and Kieran Auld. Before I get any further on with introducing the guests and asking how they are, you can tell by the screen alone that today is a very different and very special episode. For the first time on the Ryan 118 channel, for the first time in the podcast's history, we're attempting the good old-fashioned phone in. Ryan, you have been buzzing for something like that. I'm Hugh Keevins up. This is my Hugh Keevins moment that I've been waiting for. So, Ryan, this is going to be quite fun today, isn't it?
Aye, it's going to be good fun. It's a wee bit of something different, something to do. Obviously, the tier list went down a storm with the support of the viewers. So it's good to try something different, and hopefully it goes well, because I know the 4 Tims one went well, so hopefully it goes similar.
Yeah, massive shout out to the guys over at 4 Tims, and we'll speak a bit more about that later on, as I'd imagine. They done something like this earlier in the season, and it was really good listening. Ryan, you actually made an appearance on it, and you know what? It's a wee bit of inspiration over here to do this today. Kieran, you've just been hoping and praying that nobody has been coming on this show to slag you tonight or try and pick a fight with you, because it's been an eventful 48 hours for you on social media.
Quite the opposite, Ryan. I was hoping that they would come on tonight to try and have it out with me. Because
it's so funny.
It'd be nice to hear them stumble other words in person, never mind their Twitter.
I'll tell you what though, the goat in one of the ones. The one
I know, I'll give him that. That man was quite good. I just said it had to be some pish. I got no bother 2-pack. He's like, if you're around the 90s, you knew that wasn't a 2-pack. All right, fair play. That's
fair assessment of the game there. Look, it was a very enthralling encounter between you and the ones that have been trying to back Neil Lennon and all the rest of it. Let's start off with talking about Neil Lennon, because it's a situation that we all discussed prior to coming on the stream, and something that we all decided together we'd speak about, just in the issue of clarity and to be fair to comments that may be thrown about on social media. Kieran, the videos that surfaced over the past couple of days on social media of Neil Lennon were not pleasant viewing. I think it's one that we don't want to assume situations. We don't want to label anything as this, that, the next thing. But I'm sure we can all agree that all three would say, the filming and such of it, the sharing of it isn't exactly what you want to see, but it's one of those ones. You're just hoping for the best for the guy now.
Exactly. You don't hold, no matter what happened this season, you don't hold any malice in a situation like this. If the guy is needing help, I mean, that's not for us to assess. We've seen a couple of videos on Twitter and that getting shared about. It's no nice when people are videoing people with no win in that position. But I mean, it might be a wee bit preemptive is to assume things about his situation, how he's feeling. But if he's needing help, then I don't grudge Celtic going and helping the guy, because if he needs it, then he needs it. And I don't hold that against, but I just don't like when people have tried to twist my words. As time went on this season, I did question his character as a person. Just his credentials as a Celtic man was more what I was talking about during his time as Celtic manager. I made criticisms of him that were completely merited, and I don't take them back, because at the time everybody was angry, and I'm still angry about what's happened this season. But you don't wish anything like if any problems on the guy. Mm-hmm. You don't wish anything like that. My point about him, somebody on Twitter so nicely put that I said he should never darken our door again. Right. Now, I believe I said I wouldn't want him back. Would you welcome him back to do the Paradise Windfall a season after?
No, I completely I stand by everything that I think we all said. I think, Kieran, that you'd hit the nail on the head. We don't wish any ill health for him. We don't wish any bad intentions towards him. Nothing like that. But it's just one of those. I think you're right what you're saying.
See, I was hoping the situation was beyond us now, and we could put it in the past. The guy could just get on with his life, and we were just separate people going our separate ways. But when people are bringing into question comments that I made about him as Celtic manager, then I feel like I'm having to bring up things again. It's just the way people are still talking about him, and I understand for some people he will always be a Celtic legend, but because for me, I said he dented that reputation, I'd said this and that, but I don't take anything back just because this video is now circulating. A lot of people, I feel, are maybe starting to change their, I don't know if they're trying to save face or anything now, that if they have said things in the past, they're now trying to go back on it, but I think you can see these things as two separate issues. We were talking about him as the Celtic manager, his credential as a Celtic man. Now we're talking about him as a human being, and Celtic potentially getting him the help that he needs if he needs it, but as I said, we don't know the ins and outs yet.
Of course, right. You're just hoping it's a standard night out, pubs back open in England, and it's just one of those ones. He's had one too many. We've all been there.
Yeah. I can definitely relate to that. I'm hoping it was just that, and there's nothing underlying. And I know he's had problems in the past with his mental health, and I don't know if he's had problems with his drinking in the past or whatnot. But I think it is important to separate the human being from the football manager. Like, we had every right to go and criticise him after some of the performances and results that we got this season, but not once did we question like him as a human being. Like, we can separate the two, and it's important to separate the two. He wasn't doing a great job as manager of Celtic Football Club, and we were quite vocal in that. But we had to be vocal because, I mean, we've not got really any other avenue rather than on social media and our videos and our podcasts that we do. So I hope that he does get the help that he needs, or if he does need it, that he gets the help, if you get what I mean. And I hope he's all right, like from one human to another.
Yep. I think that we can all agree on that, just to end off the conversation around that. We all hope that Neil Lennon is okay. We hope that everything's sound. He's woke up, he's looked at it and went, let's keep moving. You know, that's all you can hope for. And I imagine we'll see we'll hear from Neil Lennon sometime in the future. I imagine he'll be on the telly soon enough, and we'll see what he's saying about the Sellik job then. But now let's move on to the main beef of the show. Today's reasoning for this phone in episode, is because the derby is this weekend. And so far, I know that we've said that about, you know, the first derby and then the second derby, not so much the third one, but this is the most important derby of the season. There's a chance for Celtic to save face. We'll be taking the first call in about 5 minutes time. But before then, we'll have a quick discussion on that. Kieran, how important is it that this weekend Celtic right the wrongs of the derby embarrassment that we've kind of had this season?
I mean, it's the perfect opportunity, and I mean, we've always talked up how the Scottish Cup is sort of Celtic's last chance to redeem any shred of having a somewhat. You can't even say it's going to be a good season if we win the Scottish Cup, but it's just trying to redeem some dignity this season after the shite we've had to put up with. It would be nice to get a trophy, and it's a huge challenge facing Rangers in such an early round, because even if we get through, we've still got plenty of teams to get through. But I don't know. It's this tie that everybody sort of hoped for, like a semi-final or a final, but to get it in an early round, it's something we've not seen for quite a bit of time. And
was it 2012?
I'm looking forward to it.
Something like that. 2011, 2012 maybe.
2011 was the Brunei
that's right. 2012 Joe Ledley. So I think that would be it.
Aye, but it's an exciting prospect. But I mean, in terms of the two Old Firm games that are coming up, I know I dropped it, but in terms of the two games coming up, then you've got to say this is definitely the more important one. I know you can talk about stopping an unbeaten league season in the League One, but I think beating them in the Scottish Cup and putting them out of that would be far better. I think. I don't know about yours, but that's my opinion on it.
Mm-hmm. Ryan, on you go. What do you think towards that? I mean, that and the fact that we should be confident heading into this game, I think, because we've played well in the last couple of games. I know it's not good enough in the terms of we didn't get the result we were looking for, but we were certainly, I think, maybe the better team over periods of the game. And of course, Livingston last week was a very good indication as to where we're heading at the moment. So there's a right to be confident. Kieran as well has his point there. I think one that we can agree on.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to beat them in the Scottish Cup. I mean, it's another Celtic Rangers game, regardless of where we are just now or how the season's panned out. You want to go and beat them. I mean, we've not beat them this season. I'm desperate for it. We've not beat them since, what was it, 2019? Was it?
The League Cup final.
That's incredible. I know we had lockdown in the middle, but that is still a long time since we've tasted victory against them, and I really, really want that now. It'll be a good thing for Kennedy. It's sort of a audition for another club. I want to just emphasise that.
You're making sure he's nowhere near the Sellik show.
Because this is the problem though. Because we jump into this sentimentality of rewarding these sort of managers. Obviously, with Lennon with the cup final a couple of seasons back, which ultimately cost us the 10. I would say. In fact, that's not even controversial. That is why we fucked the 10. But it's a good audition for him to maybe get a job at Dundee United or Hibs if Jack Ross was to go somewhere else. Not Celtic. I am not condoning that either. Trying to help up here again. You're
going to be hated in the comments section for the potential, like, alluding that. As people are going to be like, is he trying to say Jack Ross is coming to us?
I just need to take the heat off Kieran this week.
That is literally impossible. Did you see me getting caught in heads as well?
Aye, self-entitled Neds.
We've went back in a time machine a good few months here. We're back to the start of it when we were getting called it, but it's back with a bang.
Sharkhead. That was the name. Sharkhead, was it?
Sharky time. It's going to be entertaining to say the least, because we need to really we need to get one over Rangers here, and it's important as well to try and bring home silverware this season. It's been one that the Celtic team kind of owe the fans now at this point for everything that we've went through, having to watch. And I know people will constantly come back to that point, but he's won everything for 9 years and he's won a quadruple treble. You take a year off, we get used to no seeing it. I know, but at the same time, the kind of shite that we've endured this season, I think is deserving of a trophy for the fans. The fact we've not been there, the fact we've paid full price for our season tickets, I feel like it's something that ultimately we need, don't we? We need a bit of joy. We need a bit of celebration, Kieran, and we can do that by seeing Bruni lift one last trophy.
Of course, it's the fairy tale ending, isn't it? But I mean, you don't know if it will happen. But I don't know if there's any game you think that they've got to get themselves up for all season. It's got to be this one, surely. If there's any game this season that they need to get the team get together as a team, go out with a plan, execute it, it's got to be this game, because it'd be the perfect way to send them off. But as you said, it's just about trying to build a bit of confidence going into what is going to be a huge rebuild next season. Well,
just as I get ready to let the first call of the evening in, Ryan, how important is it going to be that we replicate the way we were playing at the weekend there, the way that El Yunusi, the way that Forrest, the way that Edouard were all playing in that final third, and David Turnbull as well? How important is it that we kind of were as dangerous both through the middle and out the wings?
It's massive that we build on what I would say is our best performance this season. I know we're not really competing with much in terms of performances, but I thought we were brilliant on Saturday. We were so expansive. We were moving the ball quickly. The wing play was brilliant. But even Edouard, although he had a quiet game, he was still involved. He was involved in a couple of the goals. And Ayer was just being his brilliant best at the back, running forward, and Livingston just didn't know what to do with it at all. So I hope we can bring that form into the Rangers game.
Well, we're joined by our first call of the evening on the Sellik the Thunder call, and this is brilliant. That's a lovely feeling. We're joined by Paddy here on the call. Paddy McFadden. Paddy, how you doing, mate?
Not too bad, Ryan. How are you, mate?
I am buzzing, mate. How's it feel to be the first ever person to phone in on the podcast series?
Well, considering I've been following you since 2016, it's a bit madness. 5 years. I never thought I would get to this stage. It's an honour.
I know, I was mad when I seen the DM pop through. I was like, I've got to let Padraig go. I was like, I know he's been following for a long time. I'll let it happen. Of course, I'm joined by Ryan and Kieran, as you can see on the screen, mate. But let's start us off, mate. What you want to talk about while you're on for your 10-minute spell here?
I don't know if I'm pushing the ball out here, but I'm going to go two 5-minute topics. So 2 topics, hopefully spend 5 minutes each on them. The first one is kind of, I'm not making this as an excuse for the poor season we had, but I feel like in football you can see it, like Liverpool losing 7-2 to Aston Villa, and even ourselves this season. Without having fans, is it got into the players? Like, is there a lack of pressure for Celtic? Like, if we're in the stadium, we're singing and dancing when things are going well, but we're letting them know when we're not happy. And the way with everything, with kind of from the hierarchy to the managers to players, if we were in the stadium, would the season have panned out the same way as it did? Personally feeling, I don't think it would have. I think if we're in the stands and that, and just the way the whole protest and everything, which I thought was a bit mad at times. Like, I'm going to be a bit controversial here. I just thought if we were in the ground, I don't think the season would have panned out the way it did. I just think Rangers, no fans for them, meant they didn't have as much pressure as we did.
Yeah,
they're just like, we have nothing to lose.
Yeah, I think you make a really valid point. Kieran, I'll come to you first here. Of course, at the start of the season, I think we all kind of agreed that Rangers would kind of see the benefits of maybe not having fans. And yeah, you started off fantastically, Paddy, by saying it's no excuse. But what do you think about that, Kieran? Do you think that the lack of fans this season has led us to as bad a season as we've had?
See, I feel like it has definitely played a part in it. I don't know how much we can accurately contribute to it, because as we've all agreed, it's certainly no excuse for the season we've had. But in terms of, like, I don't know about you, but I feel like every game this season's just seemingly got this whole friendly atmosphere. Even though the games are competitive, there's no fans in the stadium. It just seems like it's weird because you're not there, you're not seeing it. It's just, you're not getting the full match day experience. So it doesn't feel like it's actually happening. So I don't know if that's translating onto the pitch as well. And the players have just, I don't know, it's not that they've not tried it. Like, there's certainly points where they've not tried, but I mean, you'd like to think they could still get themselves up for a game if they're professional players, but I'd say it's definitely, you could argue that it has impacted Celtic more than other clubs, but in terms of the fans, like not being there because of the way that, well, you could say the way we support the team. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like if somebody was to try and use it as an excuse, I'd certainly shut it down, because even though the atmosphere is good inside Celtic Park and on big nights, I'm going to come out and say it's piss poor most times, like against Hamilton, and it's absolutely dead. So nobody's help meant in there. The only thing that happens, as Paddy said, is try to spur the team on when they're not playing well. But I don't know how I stand on it.
Ryan, what about you? Kieran's kind of 50-50, as you say. He's not too sure as a season ticket holder. Obviously, we've missed the games. That goes without saying. We've missed the games big time. But do you think that maybe that little bit that the team feed off is sort of missing?
I can't lie and say it hasn't been a factor, because it definitely has, because the fans are like the sort of 12th man in the stadium, getting the players going and getting them G'd up, or giving them praise or criticism whatever way they're playing. But I feel like with Neil Lennon as the manager, I don't want to slag him with every call that comes in, but it might be. I feel like he was supposed to be the fan that was supposed to G them up and get them going. I thought he was supposed to tell them how important 10 in a row was this season, how important defending our trophies were. So I feel like that's where he sort of let us down this season. He was supposed to convey how important this season was for the fans, and I don't think he done that. And I think he's seen that with Frimpong's comments at Leverkusen as well, when he was... I don't think he totally understood how important this season was, and I think that's a cardinal sin, in all honesty.
Paddy, here's a question for you. Do you think that if we were in the grounds this season, what do you think that if it did pan out the way that it did without fans, do you think it would have impacted how long Lennon was here? Do you think it would have been more toxic than what it actually was on social media? How do you think the response would have been to that in the grounds?
I think it would be, we know how toxic social media can be in this day and age, as we've seen with all the players, it's at a peak, I think. But I think the atmosphere would be toxic in the ground, but it would be I think it would be a lot more a pleasure way of going around about it if we're in the ground, like as in we're not happy. Like personally from speaking, this is if I got a chance, as I kind of saying, for a season ticket holder living in Donegal, that's in Union Sligo, getting up at 1 a.m, getting a bus at 1 a.m, being in the airport at 4, flying over and then flying back, then it's like basically 24 hours on the move. And I think what fans in the ground, I think people would be like, kind of, how would you put it? They'd be a bit more vocal about it in the ground with like tifos and stuff, and just you probably notice a dip in attendance a lot more. For example, Lille and AC Milan games, if attendance dipped, then it would be kind of like a warning call. Like because there's no fans in the ground, it's not really a warning call. Like we've seen under Dela, who I have ultimate respect, top man Dela was under when he was with us or whatever. But I just feel like you just seen the attendance slowly dip. But I'm kind of an advocate of being here no matter through the hard times and the good, because you just, to enjoy the good times, you need to live in the bad times. Like we've all grown up in success. We didn't experience, as you hear a lot, right, in the 90s.
Kieran, there you go. The first one of the night, mate.
Yeah, like that bingo.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. It's certainly, it's one of those ones that I think it would have been interesting to see, at least with what's in the ground. You see how teams around the country react to kind of poor bits of form. We know Arsenal were very kind of vocal in their protests against Arsene Wenger being in charge. Who knows if it would have been similar here. It's certainly one that I think towards the end of the season we'll talk about a lot more on here. I think the whole fan conversation, especially as fans begin to return, we'll dip into that. We'll talk about it more. Now, Paddy, you said you wanted to talk about a second subject. We'll let you kick off with that. Give you an extra few minutes as well, because, of course, it's a very tight schedule.
Cheers. No, I just kind of saying in one comment, it's like, don't you think for season ticket holders, like I'm not bashing Celtic in any way here in terms of season tickets and that, but kind of, as I said, I'm a uni student in Sligo, living in Donegal, and like kind of like I've always wanted to do an away game in Europe or even in the league at Hearts or Hibs, Hamilton's if I needed to, but just acquiring away tickets is impossible. Don't you think Celtic should like not accommodate but try and make getting away tickets easier for like students? Like realistically, I can't afford to splash out £1,000 to £2,000 on going to Kazakhstan away. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And that's how you have to kind of start building the criteria, of course. So it's a bit hard, isn't it?
Yeah. So like I've always, as I said, I've always wanted to do an away trip in Europe, and like every trip to Parkhead for me, it feels like an away trip. As I said, you get up, you're like you do your college during the day or Friday, whatever you do, and then come 1 o'clock, then that night you're on a bus, and then that bus gets into Dublin Airport about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then you're waiting for 2-3 hours for your flight, and then you're on your flight, and then you're making your way to the ground. Like sometimes some occasions you have to pay for a hotel because it's not like feasible just to fly over and back. Just what depends on the day of the week the game's on and flights and that. So I think there should be a bit more like not extra like. As in, I'm not saying that like Irish fans or English fans or fans from France should be given special treatment, but in terms for away tickets, I think that should be taken into consideration. I don't know if you should agree or disagree with that, but it's commitment.
It's very interesting, Kieran. We've spoke about this a lot in the past. Of course, I go to the games with Kieran. We hold season tickets beside each other, and we love to get to away games. But it's very few and far between. It's literally impossible. So there is that conversation, and there'll be people watching this and listening to this who go to away games week in, week out. How do you balance the best interests of people who have been going to them for years, and then people who want to start going to them, Kieran? It's a very interesting conversation. I've not actually spoke about it that much in the channel in the past. Kieran, do you think there should be a kind of rejig? Because as Paddy's saying there, look, we have a 10-minute walk from Carntine. It's very different for us. But we are once again in that kind of criteria of fans who want to be able to get to more away games.
I mean, it's a tricky situation because as much as I'd love to sit and say, oh, they should rejig it and that, but I mean, these people have been going to the games home and away for years, and for us especially, I don't think we can expect too much to get a sort of fast pass in. But in terms of it is an interesting point. Fans that are coming for Ireland and that the commitment that they're going through to even get to the home games. So I don't know how you would work it and such, but in terms of European away games as well, it's obviously you need to sort of build up your criteria, and we have kind of got a foot in the door, gone to Rome, but so have thousands of other people.
Exactly.
So yeah, you don't know how that works.
It seems to me it's like one of those things that they'd have to do a complete reset on. Like, I feel like they just have to pull the trigger and say, right, look, if we want to have a section of fans who are coming over from Ireland or up from England or whatever, they need to kind of edge other people out the door, and it's very hard to do. I think it's a question that technically for Celtic will find very difficult to answer. Padraig, before you go, a very good point you brought up today, mate. But before you do go, how excited are you just to get back to Celtic Park?
I'm buzzing. It's kind of a part of my life that I'm missing. It's like I have my college, I have my five-a-side, I have spending time with my mates in college, and I have time spending with my girlfriend and that. But in terms of one big missing void is going to Celtic Park. Just it was something like got you through the week. You're like, right, I'm flying out on Friday night or flying out Saturday morning or a European game. It's just a void in my life that's been missing. I don't know if that's deep, but it's just one of those things that I think I'll never take for granted a 0-0 against Hamilton while I'm in the ground for granted again. Just enjoy it because it got taken away so quickly, and I think that's when all this lockdown COVID. Enjoy the good times and take the bad with the good and the good with the bad and all that, as I was saying earlier. But really looking forward to getting back, and hopefully when I'm over for a game sometime, Ryan will go for a pint.
Brilliant, Paddy, mate. Cheers for coming on, by the way. It was an absolute pleasure. You're welcome back on any time, my man.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you for your time.
No worries.
Cheers. Thank you.
See you, mate. Right. Well, that's the kind of the first person to come on today. I mean, that was a very interesting call. It kind of puts into perspective, doesn't it? How exciting, but yet how irritating it might be for a lot of these fans to come over from abroad. Like we find it hard to get out of fucking bed in the morning. Never mind it else.
We're a 20-minute walk through Celtic Park, and we sometimes drive down and leave the motor down next to the Village Market. So.
I know, exactly. I feel cheap.
I feel like I can't moan about anything now after hearing what that guy does to go to a Celtic game.
I know, it's like we sit, obviously we sit round the side of the stadium, so it's pretty easy for us to get there. It's like we don't even need to walk around the stadium through the crowd or anything like that. It's very simple for us to get from Celtic, from Carntine Square to Celtic Park, and yet these guys are putting in effort. So he does make some very interesting points, but we will move along with the calls. We're on to Conor. Conor, mate, how you doing?
I'm all right, mate. How's it going?
Okay, getting there, I suppose, mate. It's one of those ones. We're waiting now. We're close to the beer gardens and that opening. I'm quite excited.
I don't know. Honestly, it's all I've been dreaming about for the past few weeks, man.
Right, well, kick us off on what you want to talk about, mate. Old Firm, whatever. Just anything you like.
Just a couple of wee topics. Just obviously the game on Sunday is a huge game. I think it's possibly good. Well, it is now the biggest game of the entire season because it's all got left to play for, and the young boys possibly come back in the summer for loan. So kick off. We'll probably talk about the game on Sunday. I think it has it's a weird feeling I've got going in. I've not felt confident going into a derby game. I nearly slipped up there. I had about 1,000 Celtic dads come to us with pitchforks and talk to you.
Don't worry, you're not the only one in this call.
So the result on Sunday, I think it's going to be interesting. I think it will probably be the most intense Celtic Rangers game I've seen all season because it's been quite weird. They've been quite stop-start and quite sluggish at the start. I think for the word go, I think Celtic need to be on top. I think they need to try and utilise the wingers, obviously, because we've been crying out for all season. Obviously, with Forrest back now, taking quite good form. But I think they need to start the same 11. The only possible change I'd make, and I don't know if it's controversial or not, it is to some people, but I'd swap out Taylor for Laxalt.
All right, cool.
I think he's shown, and arguably his best games have been in the derby games. I'd say I don't know. I'm quite. I don't know how I feel about Greg Taylor. I think he's consistently a 6, 7, 8 every week.
Aye.
But I think there's so many times I've seen him give the ball away, or try and get an across, and just came back to him, or deflected, or he chooses to pass back, or no try and pass forward. I could probably count it in one hand. I think I've seen him pass forward this season. So I'd play Laxalt because I feel like he's one of the only lone players this season, bar Moy, who's actually seems like he's took to Celtic. He gives it his all. And he's had a couple of stinkers here and there, but especially in the derbies, he's not scared to go in for a tackle or, try and do something a bit creative. And he's looking good with his link-up play with Moy and Edward the last derby game as well. I don't think it'd be a huge risk playing him instead of Taylor, but if you want the continuity in the team, I'd say you're probably safer going the option with Taylor.
Well, Ryan, what do you think about that? Laxalt Taylor is a conversation that I think a lot of people have been having over the past few weeks. We've touched on it on the podcast before. So what do you think over that left-hand side of the park? Who would you prefer?
I mean, I do like Laxalt. I think he always tries his hardest, and his best games have been against Rangers. I would say that, apart from maybe Lille, he was phenomenal against Lille.
His debut game, wasn't
it? He was incredible. We were like, sign this guy instantly. But he was kind of, I think he burnt out after about 6 or 7 games with Lennon, and you saw it. Maybe he started to understand Lennon, or he was starting to get coached by him, and he was regressing. But I think after the weekend, you've got to play Greg Taylor, because I think he had his best game in a Celtic top at the weekend. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I think one of the goals he passed the ball forward to, was it El Yunusi who crossed in? I thought it was brilliant, and I really feel like he's getting better and better with every game that he plays, and he's one of those players that gets better with consecutive games. So I don't think we should disrupt the squad harmony. I think we should play Greg Taylor.
All right, fair enough. I think Taylor's one of those ones that he's taken a lot of time to grow on a few people because of inconsistent performances. And I actually completely understand what Conor's saying in the sense that maybe he's not been as ambitious moving forward as maybe Laxalt has at times. For me, though, I'm kind of inclined to agree with you, Ryan. I would like to see Taylor start the weekend, especially knowing that Laxalt won't be here. But then it is that kind of, you've got to balance what your best chance of winning the game is. Ultimately, this is a knockout tie. It's the best team on the day goes through. There's no second chances. So it is an interesting one. I think that defensively, they offer you both a kind of mixed bag. You don't know what you're going to expect. Kieran, if you were to pick any of the two, who are you picking?
I mean, I don't know, because I've never really been Greg Taylor's biggest fan, but in the current situation, I think he would just edge it. But as you're talking about Laxalt, you cannot fault his effort this season. Like, the effort he's putting in, like, in his performances, fair enough, the quality might not have been there in plenty of the games, but you can't fault his, he's been, I mean, he'd go as far as a workhorse, but I mean, he's been certainly gaining it his all when he puts the Sellik shirt on. And I mean, you can't really ask for much more, but I feel like in the left back position, we're lacking a lot of genuine quality. And I feel like that is a position that's going to need to get looked at next season.
Connor, what do you think about next season in terms of Laxalt? Do you think that Celtic should look at the kind of chance of bringing him back, or do you think that's just, you know, a situation which maybe is out of the realms of possibility with the fees that are being thrown about?
I'm not entirely sure, because obviously there's the rumours going around that he's going to be part of the Eddie deal, but for all we know, Eddie could be going anywhere. So it could just be paper talk that, you know, he's part of this deal for Eddie. He'll go to AC Milan, we'll get a few bob and we'll get Laxalt as part of the deal. But I don't know, because it was just, they were saying, because when Ayer was getting linked to AC Milan, I was saying to this, my pal, I was saying, for all we know, the AC Milan for Ayer deal was going to go through and they're going to chip in Laxalt to suit the deal. But I mean, it wouldn't be the worst signing in the world. And like, he's kind of become, over the course of the season, I think we're trying to grip onto any tiny wee like flecks of happiness. He's become quite a wee bit a fan favourite and a wee bit of cult hero, just because there is wee Fortnite streams and he's always
telling us that Eddie Howe was here prematurely.
He was even on the band with Lennon. He was even on the Lennon Out bandwagon as well. I don't know. It would depend. Would it take a wage cut to come here? I mean, I'd say it's the same thing. Well, you know, I mean, they seem to be really taken to the Celtic lifestyle and the Celtic, you know, just playing for us. So if they're more than happy to come here for a wee pay cut and get a decent deal at it, because I mean, just Elyounoussi and Laxalt, that could be about £15 million right there away, and you know, we've got such a big rebuild coming this season, well, next season, sorry, that I don't know if you'd want to necessarily go there when you've already got an established player there in Greg Taylor, who, as much as I don't necessarily rate him very highly, I feel like it's a bit unfair on the guy, because he's replacing Kieran Tierney, who is arguably the best left back in the country by a country mile. So it's no fair on the laddie coming straight in after that. They must play havoc with him when he's in his game, saying I'm going to be getting slaughtered here in the papers and the rest of it by folk who think I'm not as good as Tierney.
So you wanted to bring up a very good point, by the way, Connor. So you wanted to bring up another point, I think, before you went off. Is there something on the youth players maybe you wanted to talk about?
It's just with some of the youth players we've got coming back in the summer. So obviously we've got Jack Hendry, who everybody's got his opinion on him, I'll not say anything else. We've got Ewan Henderson, who's at Dunfermline, who I've watched for a couple of games, and I've always said Ewan Henderson's a player. I'd say he's got bags of potential coming in. There's Luke O'Connell, who's away, who when in training we've been hearing stuff from when he played pre-season friendlies, he looked absolutely on fire. He's away at Moan, he'll be coming back, and obviously the new Virgil van Dijk, if according to Yogi Hughes, is Leo Gielda up at Ross County. So if these young boys are coming in and we get a decent manager when it comes to Eddie Howe or whoever it may be, if the manager can come in and coach them and get a tune at them, then we look to profit off it massively, because people say you're taking a risk.
It's one of those ones. Young player. You're still here, mate. Keep going. No worries.
Oh, sorry, I thought I'm connected there.
Oh no, it's fine. You're all right.
People say you're taking a massive risk, but I mean, look at Stephen Welsh. He's just signed a new contract, and he's been better than Shane Duffy, who I'll not talk about in the bloody strip fiasco, but.
So the young players, next season is going to be big with all these guys coming back. Very quickly, because we are kind of short for time here, I'll come to you, Kieran. We've heard comments on Leo Gielda of John Hughes saying it could be the real deal. We've got Scott Robertson, who a lot of people have been bigging up. You've got Jack Hendry, who's very eager to get a chance back in the Celtic team. Maybe these guys won't get chances, but at least the prospect is there. That is very exciting.
I know if you've got a new manager coming in, you'd like to think they'd give everybody the same sort of chance. If no matter how young these guys, I know Leo Gielda's 17 right now. If he's good enough, then they can be playing. It's as simple as that. I mean, it might maybe be with a more experienced head beside him in centre half, but I don't know. I feel like it's exciting in the sense that these players are actually doing quite well on loan for a change. Normally, a lot of Celtic's youth players just sort of fritter away on loan and don't maybe get played as much, but I don't know, it's exciting to have the prospect there, certainly.
Well, Conor, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It was an absolute pleasure. You gave a good account of yourself there. Just very quickly, I couldn't let you go away without asking, although I think I let Paddy go away without asking the last call. But have you got any prediction for the weekend? Do you think Celtic will head through to the next round of the Cup?
Just quickly, thanks, boys. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm a big fan. So, I think play the same 11, play the exact same tactically. Just do not give up. Go full pelt, full steam ahead. We should win rather comfortably. I think we are wingers. You can expose their fullbacks pretty easily. They're not the best defensively. So I don't know. I'm not going to get a score prediction because that usually bites me in the arse. But I don't know. I'll go for a 3-1. Here we go. 3-1.
Oh. Well, you're confident, Conor. That's what matters. Conor, mate, thanks for coming on. I hope to hear from you in the future if we do this again. Have a good night, mate.
Right, thank you very much. Cheers, you two boys. Thanks.
See ya.
Right, well, we've had a bit of conversation there about the derby as well. It is a good point to bring up, Ryan, about the youth players. Moving forward, these guys could be the future of the club. It could benefit us both financially and on the park over the next couple of years. So Leo Yelda and all the rest of it, it is good to see these guys getting a decent write-up.
Yeah, absolutely. I've just seen Spunkphone's picture on it. But it's good to see that some of these players are doing really well out on loan. Obviously, Luke O'Connell, Scott Robertson was having a good first half of the season, and I don't think he's really getting a look in at Doncaster. I've seen that he was on the bench quite a bit for Doncaster, so that's not so good.
Laird wouldn't be happy.
Oh no, he's got them all sussed. He's messaging them all. So it's good to see that Ewan Otto's doing well as well at Clyde.
Mm-hmm.
Clyde. He's really highly rated in the academy, so it's good that he's getting some game time ahead of next season.
Right, well, we have got our next guest on, and as Ryan has already spoiled, from Big Dom to Gig Pod, he's finally making his debut here in the Sellik the Thunder. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Twitter jail's fine, it's Spunkphone. Spunkphone, mate, how are you doing? Oh, he's connected to the audio now. What a time to ask the question. He's connected to the audio. He's done well. What a debut appearance. Ryan, I'm just going to fill the air with some talk here. So I'll let him connect back as it works. If you want to talk more about Jack Hendry, I heard him on Go Radio the other night just before you came on Go Radio. And Jack Hendry was kind of talking about how he never really got a chance here at Celtic. He's now had that chance at Ostend. And now there's a kind of there's a situation where we look at whether or not Jack Hendry is good enough to play for Celtic or whatnot. So, what do you think about Jack Hendry?
I don't really know, to be honest, because he's done well out on loan. But I mean, we'll kind of get Stephen Welsh, who's younger, who's could be used as a sort of a squad player this season and next season. I don't know if he's one that's going to bite us in the arse in the future. I mean, what age is he? 25 now?
Nah, I think so. 26 or something.
I did laugh when the last caller called him a youth player. I was like, he's the youngest, the oldest.
That's true. See, you never think it like that, do you? But we'll move on anyway. We'll move on. I know you want to keep going there, Ryan, but we'll try and fire on because he's actually here now. So from Gig Pod to Big Dom, and he's best out of the Twitter jail, Mr. Spunkphone, you're here, mate. How are you? You're the first person that's caused a havoc with joining this call, so I hope you're proud of that.
He's all right. Can you hear me now?
Aye, we can hear you now. Aye, sure.
I know with a few technical difficulties there. I know what it is. I'm out in the car at the minute, right? I thought I'd go get a wee bit of scran before the Slavia Arsenal game kicks off, right? So I thought, I've got this today at 20 can I really make it? And then I thought, no, I see to make it like an authentic phone-in, right?
Aye.
You need that one guy, especially on TalkSport. You get it on Clyde on occasion and all.
Oh, you get it.
He's like coming back for his work. You can hear him. He's in like the white transit van on his way home, and he's phoning in, just keying it to the panel. So that's me tonight, boys.
I'd like to ask you a question out of the back. Yeah, that's how it usually starts. Like they get going on Keevans where you can hear the traffic whizzing by them. So, fair play. You've brought the authenticity up. I like that. Start us off anyway. What did you want to bring to us tonight?
So, I know it's a bit of a derby preview, but I was sort of thinking there, I'll go outside the box, you know what I mean? I want to try and be original here. So my question for the esteemed panel was, what are your thoughts on Patrick Klimala going to the New York Red Bulls?
It's a good question because we haven't actually spoke about this. Not even just the podcast. I haven't addressed it on the channel yet. I feel bad. I cussed this guy back when I met him in Tesco. I've cussed, that's two now. I've cussed Daniel Arzani and I've cussed Patrick Klimala. I've met both of them and both of them done absolutely nothing. Kieran, it was quite a shock when I seen that. I don't know about you.
I mean, it is a shock. I mean, I did expect maybe a loan deal next season, like just to maybe get him out, try and get a bit of experience. But it seems Celtic are giving up with the project to Clamara, and I don't know if I feel quite sad about that because it's somebody I've kind of held hopes for after he came back in the summer. He had his shaved head. He'd learned quite a good bit of English. I was like, this guy's going to tear it up. And he never tore it up at all, did he?
No.
But I mean, he had a couple of decent goals. You've seen maybe flashes of being a decent player, but it just seems that we've kind of gave up on him. And I don't know if that's, if as Ryan said earlier, if it's something that might come back to bite us in the arse because he might turn out to be a decent player, but you never know. And just the Celtic board obviously don't want to take that gamble.
Well, what do you think, Spunkphone? Because I think there's two sides to this. A lot of people might be like, let's bounce. Because they're talking, what's it, £3.5 million, they're saying. So a lot of people will be like, oh, £3.5 million, you can't pass up on that. But then there will be the side, as Kieran's touched on there, a bit disappointing. What's your thoughts?
I know I'm in the same boat as Kieran. To be honest, I was saying on Gig Pod at the weekend there, actually, I was saying similar when the rumour was kind of doing the rounds that I was be a bit disappointed if the club were to act now, ship him out kind of before giving a new manager in the summer an opportunity to see him in pre-season. But no, I think obviously like £3.5 million, I suppose, for how poorly it's gone, for lack of a better word, with Klamala. I suppose if we can recoup the money, then it's not all bad. But I'm still a bit disappointed that we never got to see him get an opportunity under a new manager.
I know, I'm gutted. I don't know why. As soon as he joined, he gave me vibes that he'd be a great player, and now I'm kind of saddened by. Oh, Ryan, you've stayed quiet during this. Are you going to make it a full house here? Is it 3 out of 3 for that opinion of it's a disappointment, or are you going to go against the grain?
See, if we were letting him go for like something like 500,000 or $1 million of that, I'd be a lot more annoyed. But the fact that the quoted fee is £3.5 million, we're getting £3.5 million for a player, probably one of the rawest players I've seen at Celtic Park. In terms of, well, we saw that he had some bits of quality. We saw his last minute goal against St Johnstone, which showed that he can do it. But you saw him coming in, you saw his goal record. You're like, he's not exactly prolific. I don't know what we're basing signing him off of, but if we're getting £3.5 million for him, I don't think we can turn that down in terms of the rebuild that we want to do. Maybe we wanted him to be part of the rebuild, but that £3.5 million could go towards El Yunusi, so I can't really complain.
Does Kamara now become one of those players, and this goes to you, that in 5 years' time we'll look at it in the same light as like Amido Balde, Timu Pukki? Is he going to be one of these players now that we just go, what a laugh that was?
I don't know, man. It feels like there's so many players that seem to fall into that bracket, but I don't know if I'd go as far as to say same as Mo Bangura or Amido Balde in that. It's just, I don't know, time will tell, won't it?
Well, Spunkphone, you've raised a good point there. You've got us all hitting sad boy years now about Patrick Kamala, so that's got to be nice. Have you got anything else that you want to bring up?
And just one more point, I'm sure somebody's brought it up already, and it was just about Eddie Howe. McGinley, you seem like a very confident man. I'm just, wondering how you've reached this point of being so assured that Eddie Howe's going to be the man in the door, because I'd love to have your air of confidence about me.
I don't know. I feel like, even with like some of the movements with like Klamala going out, there must be somebody behind us. Like Stephen Welsh getting a new deal. Maybe that's the PLC doing their job and just giving him a new contract because they're like, he'll be a good squad player. But I mean, even them talking about it in Celtic TV, there must be something coming, or they must be confident that something's done or a deal's been struck or something like that. I've been negative all this season. I might as well be positive about something.
I'd like to just throw in very quickly. I think Ryan's. I'm just going to be completely honest, Ryan. Your confidence must be fed off me because you mail me at least 3 times a day. Like, are you still confident about Eddie? And I'm like, I'm telling you, Ryan. I'm telling you, I'm confident.
No, I definitely feed off your confidence for sure.
I know you're asking.
There's times when I'm playing FIFA at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, Eddie Howe might not come, and like I've in my head, I'm like, he's definitely coming. But then you have those doubts in your head. So sometimes I just need your reassurance. And then it's all...
I don't know why we're buying into Ryan's confidence, because Ryan's confidence has scared me more than anything in the past 4 or 5 years. I mean, going into big games, sitting making the previews, saying we're going to pump Rangers 5-0 and that, and we end up drawing nothing each. I mean,
well, right,
been there
to be
through
fair, that was at a time where in between we had just beat them fucking 5-0, 5-1, 4-0 on the cup. You know, I think I was quite entitled to get that kind of. Well,
I mean, see if you think about the voice you were getting it in that the combined 11, like the voice you're putting on, and just that just spelled out what was going to happen this season right for the fucking get go, didn't it?
Oh, you're very nice, mate. That's nice of you. Cheers. Spunkphone, is that what hits you? Do you have the fear that it might not go over the line?
No, look, I think I'm still fairly positive about it. I think, like as Ryan said, obviously they're talking about it at the weekend there. You had, who was it that was on Super Scoreboard the other night as well? I seen you tweet about it, Ryan.
Oh, Steve McGowan.
Aye, Steve McGowan. So, I mean, like, I've not totally ruled it out. I'm not saying, Eddie Howe will not be at Celtic next season. I don't know. I suppose everyone had kind of built their hopes up at one point to know it's done. It's done. Like, we can all look forward to Eddie Howe next season. Then there's that wee bit of doubt just creeping in. But no, fair play to yourselves. Still going strong. Still confident as ever. And like I say, hopefully, fingers crossed, you turn out to be right.
Well, before we let you go to eat your scran, there's one thing I wanted to bring up as well, because don't worry, it's not about Haley Williams. We're not going into that. Just we'll leave that for the after hours show or something. I don't know. But I wanted to talk about John Kennedy for a minute, because we touched on it right before the first caller came on, and it was something I actually wanted to explore a little bit more. We've got a little bit of time to play with here before the next caller. So we were talking about the kind of idea that if this weekend goes incredibly well, it could start to, I don't know, maybe something goes in the water for Desmond. He's like, maybe Kennedy's my man. Maybe I should get in the showers and offer my contract. Are you scared that happens, or do you think there will be more sort of a better way around things this time? Do you think they'll acknowledge the fact that they need to go in and appoint a proper manager? Or is this kind of thing, 2 wins down a derby could maybe just give him a contract?
Yeah, no, I certainly wouldn't have lent out with Celtic and this board and Dermot Desmond as well. I don't know, I feel as if there's enough names floating about with managers at the moment that, it's I suppose it's always a possibility Kennedy could end up landing the job, but I'm fairly confident it won't be him. Obviously, from his perspective, I suppose he'll want to win the game this weekend, he'll want to win the other derby in the league as well and end their unbeaten run, and certainly give him a good case, but I wouldn't rule it out, but I'm like 90% sure that we won't go with Kennedy at this point. That could all change, obviously, if we hammer Rangers 5-0 on Sunday.
Like, good. Kieran, that's the kind of one that we've been talking about that kind of puts the season ticket question up the arms, doesn't it? Like, do you want to renew when John Kennedy comes in? I feel like, I think all of us here can agree with Spunkphone in saying that we're pretty confident it won't be Kennedy, Kieran, but it was one of those ones that just wouldn't take you by surprise.
I know it's a lingering fear you've got just with the people that are in charge at Celtic. You know that something like that is not beyond them. You always go like, surely they won't be stupid enough to do that. But they've been stupid enough to do plenty of things wrong this season, so you really wouldn't put it past them. And just before, you go, Ryan.
I would say it's like our Vietnam flashbacks with the whole in the showers, Lennon in the showers. And you just don't want that to happen again, man. You just see the helicopters flying over. We want the Howe helicopters, never mind the Vietnam helicopters.
Christ. Somebody got to be screaming in the
Fortunate Sons blaring in the background.
Yes,
Christ almighty. Right, before we let you go, I just out of interest, I'm actually quite intrigued now thinking about food. What did you get to eat? What's your scran?
Picking up a wee Domino's, mate. Domino's, pepperoni meatballs, aye. So I'm away to pick that up now. I've just got the notification through my phone there, actually, it's ready. So I'll leave you to it, boys. Crack on with the rest of the phone in. But no, amazing, mate. Pleasure coming on.
It's good. We hope to hear from you in the future, mate. Thanks very much. Right, okay. We've had our next caller is lined up in the chat. We've got someone else coming on in a minute, but we have got a couple of minutes to play with, of course. That was a very interesting call. Good humour as always from Mr. Spunkphone. I think that we've touched on a lot of good things about the derby there, and Kamara leaving as well is a very interesting point. Is this now, Ryan, I'll come to you here. Is this now something that kind of, we talked about who we don't know will leave next season. Frimpong took us by surprise. Yep. When we done the tier list, we thought Kamara would be here next season. Now he's going. It's suddenly becoming a bigger and bigger job as time moves on.
Yep. I think I made that point as well in the tier list, and I've definitely said it to my pals and that. I've said that we're obviously, we know what players we think are going to leave. I've just had total verbal diarrhea there again. We know what players we think are going to leave. But there's obviously the ones that can take you by surprise, and that just worries me when you think of players like McGregor and maybe Julian as well. I know he's injured, so he might not get a move, but these are players that you want staying at the club. So you're hoping that we can hold on to them.
As time moves on in this phone in, all I can think to myself is, how did he do it for 2 hours and Clyde won every night? I'm trying to balance the time out and all that. I'm like, fucking hell, I'm pure panicking. I'm like, geez, how do you get things done? Kieran, yeah, so Kamara, if it is £3.5 million, do you think that should go straight away to El Yunusi?
I mean, you would love it to go towards El Yunusi. If he's willing to come up, then definitely just throw the money, get him up here for next season, because surely any manager that comes in would want him as part of his plans. But see, just talking on Kamara as well, I don't know if it's just this thing. See, because we actually did put out the money for him, is it something that we just didn't want him to fail and we thought he'd get more time to try and show his worth? Because we're talking about the very same with players like Barkas and Ayeti, saying that we've spent £5 million on the both of them. They'll surely get a chance next season. But see, with Kamara going out the door, I know it's 3.5, but does it maybe call into question, will we see these players leave as well without getting a chance?
Mm-hmm. Aye, it's going to be an interesting couple of months, to say the least. Before we let in our next caller, if you do want to get involved, make sure to call 01412041025. You're the super scared to see it. I've been just joking to see it. We're going to let in the next guest. This is one that, Ryan, you've done a bit of wheeling and dealing for, so it'll be a bit of entertainment, I imagine, a moment. The derby is going to be incredibly fascinating because we go into it with just all the makings of a classic, because Celtic really do need to win, Ryan. I know we're kind of backtracking here to conversation we've had earlier on, but just a transition. Do you think that this game will be a significantly better standard than the kind of the two we've seen prior to this?
Yeah, I do think so. I think it's not just for a trophy, this. I think it's for pride as well. We need to win one game against them this season. At least I think that shows you how bad this season has been. We're like, can we please win one game against them? How has this happened? It's mental. But it's so important that we go out and we put in a good performance. I think if we go out and play well, I think we'll win. I'm quite confident. This might come back to bite me in the arse, but I'm quite confident.
And what's the situation with Forest then? So I heard Kennedy on the radio the other night talking about the fact that it was kind of a precaution. They took him off the park because he felt tightness in his back, they felt tightness in his leg, so they took him off as a precaution. I don't know if there's been an update since. I might need you guys to help me out here. Is there anything been said else on Forest?
I didn't hear it.
I'm not actually too sure.
I'm looking at Celtic's Twitter just now, and I see that there's an exclusive interview with John Kennedy giving an update on Forest, apparently. And the only thing in the replies to it is that Forest is at Forest to miss on Sunday then. So that's no a good indication. But then again, I don't want to take my sources from somebody who's just dropped a Twitter reply for no reason. If Forest is out at the weekend, Kieran, it makes it a bit sadder, doesn't it? It kind of brings the mood down a bit because we've been buzzing about his 2 starts back in the team, 2 goals and 2 starts.
I know, it's just you could try and play the same game plan, but it's just not going to go the same with Ryan Christie playing it in the right wing, and that's been seen all season that he's not suited to there, and it shows. And Celtic suffer when we've no got him playing in his position, but certainly no playing right wing. But it'd be a massive blow if Forest is in fact it.
Yep, so we'll wait and see. I don't know. Maybe people know more on this, but we've got a next caller on. Tony for 4 Tims, mate. It's an absolute pleasure to have you on. How are you doing?
Very well, Ryan. How are you?
I'm getting there. We've had a few guests on the night. I feel like I'm just saying the same thing. I'm kind of waiting for the beer gardens to open up, so I'll spare you the shite and we'll just move on. So you come on tonight with the derby coming up, and as always, a controversial one when we talk about derbies, terms being thrown about that people don't like, predictions being thrown about that people don't agree with. We've all been subject to clips coming back and smacking us in the face. But what have you got for us tonight, Tony?
I agree with that. With clips coming back and smacking us in the face, that's been kept throughout the season. But I guess that's what happens when you put yourself out there, as you
exactly,
know. I think it'll be a good game. John Kennedy's been about his game against Rangers. I thought we were okay for the kind of first half an hour. I thought we pressed them well. I thought the link up between Edouard and Elyounoussi for a goal was really good, and I thought we were playing a lot better than them and creating chances. And then we lose 2 headers in our 6-yard box and equalise. And I just thought that really just sums up the season. And then the second half, we tail off a bit. Livingston was the first game this season where we really kicked on in the second half, I think. Apart from maybe Hamilton away, I think they scored 3 in the second half. But it was a really complete performance. And I think you need to have a bit of confidence getting into these games. I mean, there's no two ways about it. Rangers have had a really good season and they obviously want to sign off with a double. But we're just going for 5 Scottish Cups in a row. Obviously, this season, the league was a disaster, League Cup a disaster, Europe a disaster, but I'm still desperate to kind of sign off on this era of dominance for a trophy. I think it would be a really fitting end for Scott Brown's Celtic career, and I think it would be a really good trophy to win, getting into obviously this completely new era Celtic, whichever that might actually be.
Well, Ryan, I'll let you kick us off here in response because you've, of course, been a guest on the Four Tims phone in before. So this is a nice wee kind of, this comes full circle here. It's beautiful in a sense. But as towards what Tony said there, there's been a big kind of, we've spoken about this earlier on, but we now need to go and win the Scottish Cup, I feel, to make up for that poor league season. We don't want to see Rangers go and win a double. They haven't been as great in the Cups. We know that. They proved that this season when they were knocked out by St Mirren. So Celtic certainly have a psychological advantage in that sense, but it will be difficult. What's your thoughts towards what Tony was saying there?
Yeah, absolutely. It is important that we sort of end this year with a win and win it for Scott Brown and the fans as well. The fans want it, this season's been shite for all of us. We deserve something positive out of this because it's been a complete season of negatives. Like I said before, I think it's for pride as well. We need to win one game against them this season. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but we need to go out and do the business and hopefully we get a trophy at the end of the season and hopefully we've got more Scottish Cup games to talk about because that'll mean we'll have put Rangers out the Cup and then you're hoping that it'd be like a straight run to the finals.
It's weird. I like that term that Tony threw in because I've not even thought of it like that before. I've not thought of this whole new era and the era of dominance kind of coming to an end. When you look at it, of course, that is pretty much what it is. This will be, if we go through, if we win this cup, it would be our only trophy this season if we manage to win it. So to sign off on that and then start this new one, it really is a big moment. Kieran, it's weird, isn't it? Because it doesn't feel like this season was going to end like this. When we look at the start, we didn't see it going like this. So it's kind of like dramatic in a sense how it's all happened. And we have Brown leaving, we have Lowe leaving. So the big kind of finale is to win that Scottish Cup in a sense.
Of course, it would be brilliant to, as he said, sign off with a win in the Scottish Cup. But I mean, it's weird because you need to look back 10 years to see the last time this scenario played out, Celtic having to win the Scottish Cup to try and salvage a bit of something for the season. Obviously, we beat Motherwell in the Scottish Cup final in 2011, and we never won the league that year, went on to win the league the following year. So it's a weird feeling. It's been a long time since we've had to sort of talk about the fact if it's going to be seen as, like, it's obviously not going to be seen as successful, but how much can you celebrate a Scottish Cup win in a season like this? I know you need to take all the positives you can get, and it will be a good occasion if we do win it, but in the big picture, how will it be looked upon?
Well, there you go, Tony. There's a good question for you. Do you think that the Scottish Cup this season, if we win it, will feel as special as the last few? The fifth in a row, of course, massive. Or do you think it has been dampened by how poor this season's been?
It depends if they've announced who the new manager will be come the time the Scottish Cup is won, if we win it. If by that point, for example, we've announced that Eddie Howe is coming in, I think the Scottish Cup would feel like a real victory. If we've not announced it and we're all shiting ourselves that John Kennedy's going to get a visit in the shower, then it might have a bit of a different feel to it. I think you enjoy every trophy you win. I mean, as Kieran said there, it's been a long time since we've not won a league, but obviously that season we did win the Scottish Cup. I think it was Key, Mulgrew and a Craigan on goal that day, if I remember right.
I think that sounds about right. I mean, I was only 11, right enough.
But no, I think look, this season's been an absolute car crash. We start to finish, it's just been horrendous. I feel as though October to December aged me terribly. I felt every week I was just shouting and bawling about Neil Lennon and arguing with people on Twitter, as I'm sure you can all relate to.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, what we can do now is look to win it and then kick on. I mean, you see a lot of people, no winning the 10, that'll finish Celtic and etc. etc. If you look back at history, 2003, we had a trophyless season, went to Seville, Rangers ended up winning the treble. We lost it in the last day by goal difference, an absolute crushing way to lose the league. The next year, we rebounded really well and we won the league right back. 2005, Helicopter Sunday, atrocious way to win the league. After that, we go on the bounce, we win three leagues in a row. We qualify for the last 16 twice. So Celtic have had a really good ability throughout the years to bounce back from terrible seasons. So I think if we can win the Scottish Cup and sign off this season with that, and even if we don't win it, if we lose on Sunday, I think there's still a lot to be optimistic about going into the future if we ensure the right people are in place.
That's a really good point, because I've never even thought of it like that. I actually really like that, Tony, the way that you've brought up the way in the past we've bounced back from these sort of situations. I think this one fans are a little more sceptical about, and rightly so, because of the fact that we don't know what manager we've even got yet. Do you think that we have the quality there to bounce back the way we have in the past next season, or is it one that we're going to have to be patient for?
It's hard to tell. I mean, the Scottish League's a very strange league. I mean, you look, the point gap now between us and Rangers is 20 points. I think last season when the league finished, there was a 13-point gap. So that's a 33-point swing. That can happen in Scottish football. I mean, if you take it, I mean, this season we've been garbage against really poor teams, like losing to Ross County and Livingston, drawing with teams like that. It's just not good enough. I think if you get the right manager in place, any manager worth a salt can do every team in Scotland, bar Rangers, who are, we need to be wary of them. They're obviously going to be out to defend the title next season, and it'll be a hard challenge. That's undeniable. But you need to get it back to the way whereby it comes down to those 4 games. And then if you've got a manager with a bit of kind of tacticalness about him, unlike a previous manager, then you're going to have a chance of winning it. So I don't think it's easy to look at the gap, but you're thinking any good manager coming in can probably turn draws at home a fucking Livy or home defeats to St Mirren into victories. I would like to think most managers would be able to do that with Celtic. And then it's again who we bring in every kind of aspect in terms of the manager, the players, who's going in, and kind of even down to like analytics, who's coming in that side of things. And then there's the director of football, and then there's who's going out. So there's so much going on. But I think everybody should be excited about it and embrace this kind of new era. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But I'm definitely looking forward to it, and I'm wanting to get back in the stadium. I'm sure a lot of people are the same. It's been so long with the football; it's been a disaster, and wanting a pint as well. So I'm really looking forward to next season. I'm desperate for Eddie Howe. I'm sure if anybody listening to this has ever listened to 4 Tims knows I've been championing Eddie Howe for fucking long enough.
Oh, I feel that. I feel that big time. I feel like it's been an eternity now that I've been saying week in, week out on the channel, get Eddie Howe in. Ryan, the key word there, embrace. And we've been talking about that. We need to embrace change. You have been one of the key guys on this podcast, kind of talking up the fact we need to be patient. You've done it with the Enzo Express. You're now doing it with the Howe helicopter. The embrace is the big word, and we need to understand it is a very exciting time.
Yeah, we need to trust the process as well. I would say we need to be patient with the changes that are going to happen over the next couple of years. You see a lot of players go out the door. You obviously see Kamala leaving. Youth players like Cameron Harper, and then even Edward and I are probably leaving as well. So there's going to be a big turnover of players. But I think it's really exciting. I've got to be honest, I'm more excited for Monday than Sunday. I know that sounds terrible, like you should look forward to a Celtic game, but I'm more looking forward to Dominic Mackay coming in as the new CEO, because that indicates that change is coming, and we're going to get hopefully more positive moves when it comes to managerial appointments and head director of football as well. I heard today there was more talk about Fergal Harkin. Apparently that deal's close as well. So we'll see what happens regarding that. But I'm just excited about the future, and I'm glad that we're moving into the 21st century with some of our dealings, rather than some of the archaic stuff that we've been doing, like giving Lennon the job in the Shires in 2019. We need to be careful not to do the same to John Kennedy. I know there has been an improvement, but we need to be aiming higher than that.
And Tony, before we let you go, as we get ready to bring on the next caller, I'm going to assume that the next podcast, well, the first podcast after the game, you're looking forward to it. And it's always a pleasure just to get it off your chest, whether it's good or bad.
Hopefully good, but the next podcast will probably be out Monday. My last point would be, I hope on Monday that they've been kind of waiting on how to be announced by Dominic Mackay, and that's what they're waiting on, just for a kind of aesthetic point of view, whereby it's those two together and it looks like Mackay's signing, and that's it, kind of the face of this new era. But it'll be out on Monday. You can get 4 Tims and a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and all that carry on. There
you go. That's the plug. I was going to try and introduce you in it, but you've just done it yourself, mate. Fantastic. Thanks for coming on, Tony, mate. I enjoyed that.
Right. Cheers, guys. Have a good one. See you later on.
You
Bye-bye.
too. See you after. Well, there we go. A lot of entertaining talk there with Tony about the fact that Eddie Howe might be only a matter of, not to put words in Tony's mouth. He's not came out and saying, Eddie Howe's coming, but the fact that we've touched now on Dominic Mackay coming in post-Derby, we've touched on Eddie Howe coming in post-Derby, Kieran. You're hoping that this kind of new era now hurries itself up. Dominic Mackay coming in is the start of that, and it makes it a bit exciting, doesn't it?
I know you'd like to think that we could get a managerial appointment sorted, hopefully soon, that we can announce. And as he was talking about, it's a really good point. The whole Scottish Cup final would have a more feel-good factor if we knew there was a new manager coming in like Eddie Howe. I think it really would bring back the magnitude to the occasion if we were to get that far, if we were lucky enough. But I don't know, I completely agree with that. But the same with the John Kennedy statement, if we were somehow in the Scottish Cup final this year and gone in thinking he might get it the same style as Lennon, it would be a very different sort of atmosphere about the game.
Well, we are ready to bring on our final caller in this podcast. I'll tell you what, I've actually thoroughly enjoyed this. I think it's been brilliant. Some great points, some good conversation. I'm looking forward to maybe doing it one day again in the future. It's turned out to be an absolute blast. But we've got our last guest on, and it's none other than the infamous, the big man, Big Dom. Dom, how are you doing, my man?
I'm not doing too bad, my man, Ryan. Good. Thank you for having me on. Sorry about any audio quality. I'm on my phone and my pal's gaff, so...
Mate, you sound better than probably like half the guests we've had on. That's slandering. Yeah, actually, you sound fine, mate. Everybody, do you know what? The only you'll never guess, right? So we've had 2 great lads, Paddy and Conor, on. We've had Tony from 4 Tims, and the only person who's came on and had a mishap with technology or audio or anything was Spunkphone. The only one. You wouldn't believe it. So you've beat him. Right, anyway, Dom, you've got a nice wee bit of time here. So what are you thinking? What's your thoughts? What do you want to bring to the panel this evening?
Well, I thought I'd just discuss my thoughts for the game on Sunday, because obviously it's a big game. You can't get bigger than an Old Firm, really. So I think it will be closer than a lot of people will first imagine. Personally, especially after our performance against Livingston, it felt like a completely different Celtic, didn't it? Like scoring, it was 6-0. Like you wouldn't have expected that, especially after performance against Dundee United, and you could definitely see some class in the performance against Rangers, but the goals weren't coming. But you could definitely see the goals coming against Livingston. But you can't discount Rangers at any point, especially in an Old Firm and especially in a cup where they're going to be going for a double. So I think it'll be a really close game. I think, personally, just going for a score prediction, I think it could be a 2-1 scoreline either way, basically. And because, especially after performances, like the team that went out against Livingston, it was outstanding. It was what you want to see. It's what you've wanted to see this entire season. And it just kind of what you expected.
Yeah, so we've spoke a bit about that tonight, about how different a Celtic team have looked. Ryan, what do you think about what Dom was saying there? Now, I know you don't want to feel like you've been repeating yourself with points that we've already made about Celtic, but the confidence one is a big one, isn't it? Because confidence is key. I feel like in the last couple of derbies, we've not had the confidence to maybe see out games and play better towards the final portion, and that's why Rangers might have protected themselves a bit better, they've sharpened up defensively. We've not had the confidence to maybe go forward and try for that winner, but you score 6 against Livingston, and then that changes.
Yeah, definitely. They should feel really confident going into this game. They're bang on form, I would say, in terms of the way that we've been playing. I know the Dundee United game was a bit of a disappointment, but the amount of shots we had in that game was incredible. Like, we should have beat them 2 or 3-0 at least. But the way we've been playing, has been really positive. But there definitely has been an improvement under Kennedy. And if the players are reading what the fans are saying online, they'll know that we are quite confident for this game. And it's the first time in a wee while that we've actually been confident going into a game. And in terms of like injuries and that, apart from maybe Forrest, we're doing okay with injuries for the first time in a long time, it feels like, because obviously in October we had the whole COVID thing that happened, and we had some players missing in January, obviously Forrest. But it feels as if we've got a clean slate of players coming in, and we're in the best possible shape for this game, which is good. So we should be feeling confident, and I hope the players are too.
Yeah, so Kieran, is the same kind of question as what Ryan's answered there. In terms of confidence, I feel like now is the time for key players to step up in this game, realise it's their only chance of silverware. This is the kind of game you expect Scott Brown to really... Players like Scott Brown, players have been there, people know it, people played in these games, Brown, McGregor, those kind of guys, to step up and have big games to try and highlight the importance of getting through to this next round.
Exactly. You need huge performances for a lot of people. I mean, especially in the midfield, I think that's where it's going to get won or lost. But because in previous games, it's been a real battle, and sometimes in other games, we've not been getting to the second ball. It's just simple things that have ended up costing us in the game. But in terms of like the confidence going into the game, I feel like as a fan base, we've got a right to feel a bit confident going into the game. Just given what's happened this season, to get a wee bit of form under our belts is always good. But I'm very cautious about some people maybe seeming a wee bit overconfident for the game, which, as I said earlier, the overconfidence going into games is something I've never ever had. Even at the best of times over the past 5 years, I've never liked to go into games thinking, we're definitely going to pump them. But I don't know, you like to think that we can go out and give them a game, just have a bit of confidence in ourselves for once this season. But I'm very cautious of the fact that some people, I think, might be getting a wee bit ahead of themselves after the Livingston game.
Tom, what would your response be to that? Are you worried that maybe the overconfidence now? So in the past, just to highlight some examples, there's that 0-0 at Celtic Park a few years ago when we were battering them. The Clint Hill game when they scored late on to get a 1-0 draw. The first win in years we were overconfident going into as well. The one that the first league win in years anyway. Then they won at Parkhead. I think we were confident going into 2 after beating them at Ibrox. Can overconfidence be an issue this weekend in terms of maybe feeling like we have been better? Or do you think Celtic will remain, as a team anyway, will remain grounded going into it?
Well, I think that's a very good point about confidence. Is you should never be overconfident, especially in a derby match. Being overconfident is, as much as it could be like a good thing, like get people's confidence levels going. Hopefully they'll play better. This is more focused on the players, but including the fans as well, and of course the coaching staff. Never be overconfident, and hopefully they can stay grounded, as you say, and not let it get to their heads, especially after, because the performance against Livingston truly showed the class that we had. So if we can go out there, stay level-headed, not go in completely overconfident, like we're going to smash these guys, like they haven't been scoring too much or they've conceded a few goals. Keep grounded, and we can go in, and hopefully. And I want to see. On another point, I want to see some top performances from especially Scott Brown and, as Kieran said, the midfield, because you'll notice from the past derby matches that it's always been the battle is there, because if it will get out to the wing, the defenders will take it out either way for both teams. So the battle has to be done in the midfield, and I think all of our midfielders need to be on top form for the game on Sunday.
Yeah, not historically, I've seen, over the last couple of years, Rangers have been very impressive in winning that battle in the middle of the park. They've had very good players in there, Cabana, Davis, Jack, all these players have turned up in the Arfield as well. We kind of figured that out a little bit. We got better with it that time. Lennon decided to field the diamond and he flooded the midfield and it worked a little bit, but now we are back to playing that 4-2-3-1. So in terms of tactics, Ryan, I think that we've just got to keep learning these different things, picking up what works and what doesn't work. Ultimately, the 4-2-3-1 though is probably the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives us width down both sides, left and right. Hopefully, Forrest is fit for the match. I read that John Kennedy was given until the very last minute to see if he's going to be fit for the game. So fingers crossed that he gets the green light for that. It's all about adjusting, and things can happen in games as well that change things. Obviously, the red card to Beaton changed a lot in the game two derbies ago.
Yep.
We were quite dominant before then, and then that happened and it all went tits up basically. I would go for the 4-2-3-1. Utilise El Yunusi and Forrest if he's fit, obviously, and hopefully we get the service into Edward as well. It's about time Edward comes to the fore again, I would say.
Yes, exactly. Now, Dom, have you got any other points you would like to bring up before I move on to asking you a big question? So, have you got anything you'd like to say?
I just want a thing out of Celtic. This is, if you don't mind me talking about the transfers for next season or moving forward. Moving forward into signing people. There's players at our club, and when I say players, I'm focusing more on a certain Mohamed El Yunusi that need to be kept around, or players brought in similar to their play style, because you can see the class, they ooze class. My massive issue, and I'm quite adamant about my points on Neil Lennon and his coaching. Of course, as a person, he's a lovely guy, but as a coach, he's completely backwards. What has happened is our players, you can see individually that they are absolutely class. Every single one of them are class. But without the teamwork there and without a certain amount of groundwork in coaching, you're never going to get the best out of all of them, and you're not going to get what you want for results. So what I want, of course, in the coaching staff, whoever comes in next season needs to get focused on building the team around a solid set of players that know what they're doing, and bringing in players that we know that can do stuff. Like the players that are here already, El Yunusi, this might be a bit more of a controversial one, is for Laxalt to stay. I think if you get him the right coaching, I would like us to keep Laxalt. But if we're going to build a team next season that is going to challenge for the title, not even right away, just challenge for more silverware, we need to build the team around our midfield, if you know what I mean. Yep. We need to build it around David Turnbull, McGregor and Ismail Assoro. And I just think if we do things how we're supposed to do them, we'll be sorted.
So, Kieran, that's a very good point. I'm not going to ask you your thoughts on Neil Lennon because, of course, we'll be here all night. But I'm going to ask you your thoughts, Kieran, towards how these players might work under a different coach. And I guess, yes, of course, El Yunusi and Lax are the players you've highlighted there. But can we expect players to be much better, or a big change in these guys with some better coaching next season? How different can it look? And will Laxalt be one of those guys that is it worth taking the risk, I suppose, maybe at the end of that?
I think you can look back to when Brendan Rodgers was here. He got the best out of players that we might not have seen their form quite like it since. And I think if you had a Brendan Rodgers with like an El Yunusi at that calibre of manager, you would certainly get even more out of him. And I think it would speak volumes for the rest of the team. I think like you could get the best out of players that maybe haven't looked at their best. In terms of Laxalt, I suppose it is possible for like, a new manager to get the best out of him, but I don't know. It's all dependent on the price tag as to whether he's going to be here next season. If it was a couple of £1 million, maybe 2 million or something like that, you'd maybe take him as an option at left back. But for me, I think we need to go down a whole new different route for left back. I think we just need to. That's including Taylor for me. Taylor, I'd be okay with as a backup, but in terms of a starting player next season, I think we need to look somewhere else.
Right, fair enough. I think that wraps up the beef of the phone. And now, Dom, you don't need to say yes or no. Don't feel pressured. But we do have a bit of a quiz planned out. Would you like to face one of the questions, because it's meant to be in a quick fire style, aren't that difficult? I feel some might be, but do you want to take part and beat the pundit, mate?
I will take part. Hopefully, this can prove. Hopefully, if I know what I'm on about, hopefully Matthew can't shout at me saying I don't know anything about football anymore.
Well, it was Matthew who made the quiz, so.
Oh, the dick! I'll take part in it, of course.
Brilliant, amazing. So shout to Matthew Duff. Now, of course, this is completely and entirely ripped off from the Super Scoreboard. This is how they do things. I'll just give credit to Gordon Duncan and Co right now. Of course, I just want to be Hugh Keevins. Now, the way Beat the Pundit works normally is, of course, Dom here will go up against one of our esteemed panel members here, Ryan or Kieran. So we're going to quickly do a heads or tails to see who you are facing. Kieran will be heads, Ryan will be tails. So let's find out. Heads or tails? Well, let's just find out now. It always seems to be heads. Let's see. It's taking its time. Go on, City Hen. Go on. Do
you not have an actual coin on you?
No, I don't know, mate. I don't carry cash.
It's a cashless society.
It's a cashless society. Right, it's landed on heads, which means Kieran Old is the pundit that you.
Oh no! Right.
Right, Kieran. You know you've got to take everything off. I trust you to do this correctly. You can't hear a thing. Normally, Gordon Duncan would say, Kieran is currently listening to Clyde 2 on the earphones, but not me. I will give Kieran a message in the chat to signal when he's back. Now, there would normally be a time limit on this, but I'm just going to go through every question and see how many you get out of 10, mate, right?
Of course.
Okay, Dom against Kieran Auld. Here we go. Eddie Howe is favourite for the Celtic job. Which two clubs has he managed in the Premier League?
Believe it was Bournemouth and was it Burnley?
Correct, right? 1 out of 10 for Dom. How many Celtic players were in the most recent Scotland squad, including players loaned out?
Was it 4?
It's only 2.
Right.
Which number does Mohamed El Yunusi wear for Celtic?
27.
Correct. Who was the only unused substitute from the Lisbon Lions final of 1967?
Is it John Hood? No.
John Farren. Unlucky.
Farren.
You got the first name right. How many red cards has Scott Brown received in the league this season?
1.
Correct. Who scored Celtic's opener against Livingston on Saturday?
I'm going to sound like a right twat for not knowing this.
It's hard to remember them.
I do believe it was El Yunusi.
It was Forrest. Forrest got the first one at the weekend. Finished the famous headline, Super Carrigo Ballistic Celtic.
Oh, that's atrocious.
Fantastic. How many league titles have Celtic won?
51.
51 is correct. Which player did John Hughes compare Leo Hjelde to this week?
Which player?
What player did
it was Carlos Puyol, wasn't it?
No, Virgil van Dijk.
Virgil
van Dijk, unlucky.
Where did they get Puyol from?
I don't know. Final question. You're doing well, though. Final question. How many goals did Henrik Larsson score against Rangers?
Full stop.
Overall. Take a guess.
Overall against Rangers?
Against Rangers.
I'll go high. 37.
Oh Christ, not that many. 15. Well, right, that's fine. I won't reveal your answer just yet. McGinley's just sit there like, this is fun. But I won't reveal your answer just yet. Kieran, you're back. You're welcome. So you never heard a word of that? Nothing at all?
No, I turned the volume all the way down.
Right, so the way we're going to work it here is a bit different from Super Scoreboard. I should have told you this before you went away, but we're not going to give you a time limit. We're just going to let you answer all 10 and see if you can get more than Dom. Ryan, I hope you can keep track. We'll come to the end and see who got what right. We'll be able to keep it fine. Right, are you ready here?
Aye, on you go.
Right, question 1. Eddie Howe's favourite for the Celtic job. Which two clubs in the Premier League has he managed?
Bournemouth and Burnley.
Correct. How many Celtic players were in the most recent Scotland squad, including players loaned out?
3.
It's only 2. Oh, unlucky. 2. Which number does Mohamed El Yunusi wear for Celtic?
17.
Oh, you're a dick.
I know, I'm a dick.
27. It's 27.
That's everyone's favourite flop.
Oh, Kieran, I can't believe you fucked that
one.
My
birthday, I know.
Who was the only unused substitute from the Lisbon Lion final of 1967?
Oh, fuck. Farren.
Aye, correct. Give you that, John Farren. How many red cards has Scott Brown received in the league this season?
1.
Correct. Who scored Celtic's opener against Livingston on Saturday?
Oh, I can't eat. Was it Forrest?
Correct. It was James Forrest. Finished the famous headline, Super Carrigo Ballistic Celtic.
Oh, atrocious.
Correct. How many league titles have Celtic won?
50.
51. Oh, that's a slip up.
I was trying to remember because everybody was going on about the number, like the way Rangers got about 55.
Look at Tom's face. Which player did John Hughes compare Leo Hjelde to earlier this week?
Van Dijk.
Correct. And how many goals did Henrik Larsson score against Rangers?
12.
15. Not far off. Right, okay, so we'll go through it and see who the winner is.
That was a shocking performance.
So, question 1.
Don't worry.
Question 1, Eddie Howe managed which two Premier League clubs? Bournemouth and Burnley. You both got that correct. Ryan, can you keep a score here with your two horns or something? Brilliant. So Bournemouth and Burnley, both of you got that correct. How many Celtic players were in the most recent Scotland squad? Dom, you said 4. Kieran, you said 3. You were both wrong. Which shirt number does El Yunusi wear? 27. Dom, you got that right. Kieran, you got that wrong. Who was the only unused substitute? Kieran, you got that right with John Farren. You said John Hood. Dom, you got that wrong. How many red cards? Both of you got that right. Scott Brown, 1 red card. The Celtic opener, only Kieran got that right with James Forrest, adverse to El Yunusi. That was Dom's guess. The Super Cali Go Ballistic Celtic are atrocious. She's both got correct. Many league titles have Celtic won. 51 was the correct answer, and Dom got that. Kieran said 50.
Can't believe I choked that.
Terrible. Which player did John Hughes compare Leo Hielda to? The correct answer was Virgil van Dijk. Kieran got that. Dom said Carlos Puyol.
I think the only reason I got that is because I saw his Twitter account like 2 minutes before I came on there.
And how many goals did Henrik Larsson score against Rangers? None of he's got that right. The answer was 15. So Ryan, what was the score there?
6-5 to Kieran.
What was the Scotland question? What was the Scotland question?
How many
again?
Celtic players were in the most recent Scotland squad, including those loaned out?
Including those loaned out?
So Jack Hendry and Callum McGregor, the only two, no?
Ryan Christie.
Matthew's got that wrong. Aye, Matthew's got that wrong.
So was that right then?
That you're right. You were right. So 7-5. Oh well.
Still doesn't excuse the El Yunusi in the 50, the 51.
You could have got 9 out of 10 there.
I know. Choked it.
7 and then 5 here, Dom. I don't think that's a bad performance for the first ever of these games. Unlucky, mate. Unlucky.
Did my best.
You did your
It's on the
best.
spot.
Dom, we're going to let you leave now, but thank you very much for coming on, and it'll be a pleasure to see you on again if we do something like this, mate. You've been an absolute gent. And also, before you go, make sure everybody to check out Dom's Twitch channel, Big Dom 67. I'm correct?
I do believe so, yes.
That is the one. Make sure you go and follow him on Twitch. Some very good streams over there. Dom, thanks so much for coming on, mate.
Thank you so much for having me. I hope this has went really well for you already. I saw you have been going for a wee while. And again, thank you for having me on.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. Take care, my man.
See you after.
See you after.
Right. Well, that brings us to the end of this show today. It has been an absolute... It's been a long one. I feel like it's actually fitted for radio, but I must admit, Ryan, I'll come at you first. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I've just had a DM from Hugh Keevans saying, stop. Yous are taking our viewers.
If only it was live. If only it was live.
No, he's shaking in his boots. We're coming for him.
We are.
I really have enjoyed it though. It's been brilliant. It's been great to hear from different people as well and hear different views. And I thought it was really interesting to hear about the Irish fans coming to Celtic and how much dedication they put in to go to home games. Because for me, it's only 20 minutes away, so it's incredible the amount of dedication some people have.
Yep, Kieran, you managed to escape the hands of the dads who are after you, but at the end of the day, it was a really good show, and I think we can all agree it was quite enjoyable.
I know, I did enjoy myself. I mean, do you think this will be a common occurrence, maybe a once a month sort of thing?
I think it could be. We could definitely make this a once a month occurrence, because I think it's something that maybe after, especially the first edition of it, people might be like, I want to get involved in that. You know, we could see people come on. So we could. A very good suggestion. We could, and I mean, if we do manage to up the standard of the shows when we're in person, who knows? It could look and sound a lot different too. Up the quality. The sky's the limit. I enjoyed this. So let us know in the comments and such if you enjoyed this today, Kieran. That you've just flung your hat in the ring there for many more encounters with folk.
Okay, we'll bring it on.
Do you know what I think? Kieran and Tony would get on brilliantly. You know that? I think just listen to Tony speak, hear him speak.
I think he could be 5 times in a podcast very, very soon. I think he'll get a couple of DMs tonight recruiting the lad.
Absolutely tremendous. Well, lads, I will wrap it up there because it's been a long one. If you have been watching and listening on YouTube, you know what to do. Make sure to hit like and subscribe, and please, I urge you to let us know what you thought of the show in the comments below. It was the first time doing anything like this to the channel, something I've wanted to do for a really long time, and the fact that I've managed to do it now, I am absolutely chuffed about. Kieran, Ryan, thank you for your time. And I look forward to speaking to you at some point post Derby. I'm not sure who'll be on the podcast post Derby yet. Before we go, there's the whole point. What we predicted. You want to even give are you scared to give a prediction?
I'm always scared, Ryan. I'm always scared. But in terms of a prediction, I'd like to think we could be confident in Celtic try to get a result this weekend. Because it's cup football, I mean, you just need to go for it, didn't you? 1.5 game, just go for it. But I'm not going to go there and say a score prediction. But if there's any game we could have a wee bit of confidence, then this is the one. But as I say, this could very well come back to bite us.
Right. Football's going to be the winner on Sunday. Beautiful game. No, right into them. 2-0.
Reminds me of when I raided Halliday in stream yesterday and you were giving it the YNWATP.
Exactly.
That's it. Lads, thank you very much. Everybody for listening, thank you too. And we'll see you all next time.